Hello, my name is Chris and welcome once again to our 8th and final instructional video tutorial on CSC 151, an introduction to Java programming. For our final video, we'll be going over inheritance and polymorphism. We'll be talking about superclasses and subclasses, along with abstract classes and methods, and overloading and overriding. What is inheritance? Inheritance is when a new class is created that has an existing class's methods and fields. The new class is called a subclass, while the class it is inheriting from is the superclass. Subclasses can become superclasses for future subclasses that are derived from that class. Overall, inheritance reduces the amount of code you have to write. Here you can see I've created a class, the superclass, called animal with two methods, eat and sleep. Why eat and sleep? Because all animals can eat and sleep. Next, you'll need to create your subclasses. I've created two, dog and frog. Now here's something new. When you create your subclasses, be sure to add extends animal or extends whatever is your superclass. Now both my subclasses have a method, one for dog called bark and one for frog called ribbit. Back in our animal class, I have created three new objects, one for dog, one for frog, and one for the animal class itself, called ape. When you call dog, you are allowed to eat or sleep and bark. Same with frog, you are allowed to eat and sleep and ribbit. But with ape, you can only eat and sleep. Why? Because that is the only method that exists in the animal class. But for both dog and frog, they have access to their class, which allows them to bark or ribbit. Same if we tried to make the dog ribbit. It wouldn't know how because it doesn't have access to that class. The superclass cannot access methods within the subclass. This is an abstract class of the last program. Abstract classes cannot be made into objects, so our ape object will no longer be a valid object. This forces you to create specific classes. Everything else, though, is the same. Also, I've added an abstract method. You'll notice that it has nothing in it. This is because in our subclasses we must implement these methods. If you were to leave it out of the subclasses, we would get an error. This is for times when classes have common methods but perform them differently. If we stick with the animals here, all animals move but frogs hop and dogs run. Polymorphism. Polymorphism allows you to program in general rather than program in the specific. It allows the program to decide which method should be used, and it does this at runtime based on the type of object. Say you have a superclass, animal, that has a method, and then you have a subclass, dog, which extends animal and has the same method. At runtime, when the program executes, the correct method to use will depend on if you have an animal or a dog. Let's give you an example. Here I have created a superclass called animal and three subclasses that extend animal, dog, fish, and bird. Two of the subclasses have the move method. Three objects were created for each, and an animal object was initialized to the dog object. Each time we go through the methods, the program decides which method we need to call. For the first animal object, we use the dog object. So when we call ref.move, we get the dog class's move method. Next, the animal object is changed to the fish object, which does not have a move method. Therefore, it calls upon the superclass's move method. Finally, we change it to the bird object, and when we call the move method, it calls the bird's move method. What we have done here is called method overriding. This example of polymorphism is similar to our last example, but this time animal has two methods named move, one that takes no parameters and one that does. Also, the subclass of fish has two move methods, one with parameters and one without. The program functions the same otherwise, but when we call the move method for the fish object, we call it and pass a Boolean value. The program knows that we have passed the value and calls the right method. This is known as overloading. You can do this as long as the number of parameters is different or different types of parameters. Today we learned that inheritance is when a new class is created that has an existing class's method and fields. These are known as subclasses and superclasses. Polymorphism allows the program to decide which method should be used. This is done at runtime. That concludes my Intro to Java Programming tutorial series. Thanks for watching, and keep programming and keep on learning. Thanks guys. Bye.